Welcome everyone to this week's action reaction, as I'm calling it. I've decided on a name just out of. We can change it later, but I've decided for now. It's this week's action reaction mini-sode. Our reaction, as it were, to having watched one another's movies. On your side, you chose The Kingsman.
I believe the full title, Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Kingsman: The Secret Service. On my side, I chose Hard Times, not the Charles Dickens novel, which is what it always makes me think of, which I'm sure is what it made you think of too.
Oh, absolutely. Not like some wrestling promo that I only know of because Chael Sonnen knocked it off and people were calling. Otherwise, here's the point where I'm too classy for something. Like, no, we're not doing pro wrestling talk on here.
Anyway, first off, then I want to know what you think, but really, we're going to start with what I think because that's why I'm here.
Let's start with Kingsman: The Secret Service. Initial thoughts.
Yeah, so apparently, like, if somebody wanted to make a James Bond movie and like did a whole bunch of drugs. I feel like The Kingsman is kind of what they'd come up with.
Yeah, that's fair. With a hard R rating.
Yeah. Maybe on the other side, as you alluded to before I watched it, it's like if somebody wanted to make the most serious Austin Powers movie they could.
Right. It's something that fully... It just really embraces all the tropes of what it's supposed to be. And... I don't know. How do you feel about how it was pieced together? Do you feel like it did service?
You know, it definitely felt pieced together a little bit for me. Like, I enjoyed the set pieces. I'm not gonna lie. And say I didn't have fun. There's pretty much no way to not have fun with, LSD infused James Bond or like over the top action set piece Austin Powers. But it did feel like it was just like, and here's a cool scene, and here's a cool scene. Oh, and I had this cool idea, so that's going to be the next scene is this cool idea.
I know. It's so good. Did you have a favorite character? Anybody or favorite performance? Anything?
Well, Colin Firth, he was really, like, I kind of just, I wish, I think in my heart, that the whole movie had just been about him. Like,
okay,
the Freebird action set piece in the church where he's just killing everyone. Like, that is the movie's climax. That is the climactic high point of the movie, I
think it's the climactic high point of cinema.
I understand that. But, like, it's the climactic high point of the movie, and it is literally devoid of every other character in the movie but Colin Firth.
Yeah.
Like, he is the only character in any of the part of the plot that is present in that scene, and it's the movie's high point. And it's like, then he dies, and you strip away, you go back to the other storylines. It's just like, this isn't as cool as that was. It can't be. Like,
right. And I mean, I feel like they did make they tried with like the symphony of exploding heads and all of that, but I mean, without the Freebird scene, we would still be talking about just how ridiculous and trippy a bunch of world leaders' heads exploding in sync to music is. Yeah. But oh boy, that Freebird scene.
It was great. It was if nothing else, that was absolutely not a letdown in any way. Like, you cannot overhype a scene like that.
Right. And I tried really hard.
Yeah, you did. but you can't overhype that. And to that, I owe you some credit for digging up, for exposing me to a great moment in action cinema. The other thing I will say is I I don't dislike Samuel L. Jackson as an actor. He's made plenty of things that I really enjoy. But man, I did not understand his part in this movie at all. Like,
I know.
It was like somebody said, we have to cast Samuel L. Jackson in our action movie. Like, we have to. I love Samuel L. Jackson. We have to cast him. And then the other person was like, we don't have a part for him. There's no role for him to play. Like, okay, let's cast him in the only role we have left, and that can be what Samuel L. Jackson plays. Like, the lisping, weirdly, like, the role we wrote for a 20-year-old lisping, like, boy genius. Yeah. Right. We're going to put Sam in that.
I mean, who would you have cast? Who do you think is the right person to fill that role with all the decisions that Samuel L. Jackson made?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I just watched Wolf of Wall Street, so nothing that goes in my head is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
But I don't know if that would have been a necessarily huge upgrade.
No, and I feel like, Jesse Eisenberg would be one of the ways to go. But if we wanted somebody, like, older and pretend alive, I feel more Hoffman would have pulled that off somehow.
That would have been amazing. Yes, Philip Seymour Hoffman, God rest his soul, would have been perfect in that role. Otherwise, unfortunately, so the copy I saw had the asshole scene cut from it, so I had to go look that up. Like, apparently, make it into every version of the movie. Weird. I know.
So, what was your ending? It wasn't.
No. I mean, they had everything else was the same. They just, like, cut that line.
Okay. It's such a good moment too.
I'm not going to go that far, but it's certainly a memorable moment in the movie.
Well, I feel like when we say like this is a heightened version of Austin Powers, that is exactly one of the moments where it's like, oh yeah, no, we are going all the way in on this. And even when you joked during the episode, like, okay, what's his payoff? Is it cars or women? Like, yeah, that was exactly where it was going to go. Obviously, that's where it was going to go. And it really delivered on whatever you could ask from it.
This is all very true. I can't complain. I enjoyed myself. It's it's a bit of a patchwork. It's not the most even thing I've ever seen, but it is filled with actors I love. I mean, Mark Stone, also weirdly miscast Mark Stone. Like, I don't know. Right. They're like, let's get Mark Stone, the preeminent British heavy of our modern filmmaking, action filmmaking times, and let's cast him as the nerdy assistant.
Yeah, he's cute. It's so good.
This is the dude who only plays thug villains. Like, that is his whole cinematography. Like, yeah, his whole discography as an actor is him playing thug villains. And they're like, the nerdy guy, he plays Q in this.
I love it. It's so everybody. Okay, I think that if there are two things to really take away from this movie, one is that every actor sure was making some decisions. And I guess maybe we can close this on a question and then move on. Would you say that this movie is worth it just to get to that Freebird scene?
Yeah. I think if you're a fan of action movies at all, you have to watch it just for that scene, if nothing else. Like, the rest of the movie is going to entertain you reasonably, and then that scene is just super, super fun.
Yeah, just straight kick in the teeth adrenaline. And for context, this is coming from a guy, I don't like the song Freebird. I've gone off on rant about how it's not a good song.
I don't care about it at all either.
Yeah, but in this context, it is A plus, perfect decision. Don't change a single thing.
All right. So on the flip side, you watched Hard Times. I realize it is not going to be the same adrenaline rush that Kingsman was. But what are your thoughts?
You know, I had a lot of fun during most of the action sequences in it. When I'm gonna keep screwing up characters' names. Who is the promoter guy who
Speed.
takes him?
His name was James Coburn.
Yeah, James Coburn. And we can just go by actors' names for this
Yeah.
because I have another thing to get to. But to me, like the really engaging scenes in this movie were when James Coburn was just being a slimy piece of shit.
Yeah.
Those were really fun.
Coburn is the best. He absolutely is. He makes that movie for acting, and I think it's a credit to Walter Hill that they gave Coburn really all the dialogue in the movie because they know that he's going to carry all the actual acting in the movie.
Yeah, and like one of my favorite, actually maybe my favorite scene of the whole movie is when he's like, "Well, no, actually, you owe me." When we really think about it, it's like, you motherfucker, I really dislike you, and I'm so glad this ammunition to work with. Like, just very emotionally was connected with. I do not want this guy to succeed. He's bad,
but he does.
Yeah, because fuck, the world sucks sometimes. And one of the other things that I really enjoyed was Charles Bronson, clearly not the best actor. And okay, so there were like two limitations of his that one, they did a really good job working around, and another I kind of had a little tick about. And the one that kind of put me off a little bit was a lot of the times during the action scenes, they would leave him out of the shot when he's getting hit. It was really clearly like, all right, you're editing around your star. I get it. But that did, like, just for a second, would take me out of the action because they did it a few times. But other than that, the fight scenes were really grounded, pretty solid, especially for, they're not going to be like doing a million Jackie Chan style takes. Like, they got to film it and get it and go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the best choreographed actual like boxing, especially for like anything that's not just a pure boxing movie. That's not a big budget like martial arts extravaganza. It's one of the best choreographed, just like fighting movies about people fighting.
Yeah, and I think the editing also really helps those a lot, especially in the last fight.
Yeah.
Which I do want to get to that, but first, the limitation that they did work around really well was, again, Charles Bronson's acting. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't stop thinking about how when The Matrix came out and Aaron was being like, wow, Keanu actually, he pulled off an action hero. He wasn't corny or anything. It's like, yeah, because he has two lines that are more than 2 sentences long. That's how it worked. And with Bronson, every time it was, you give him, he has 1 sentence to react. It's like, okay, I get this character. And then in those scenes where he was actually talking with what's her face, pretty lady, you could see like, you guys have no chemistry on camera.
I do actually like too, though. I will say, even there was not much chemistry going on between him and his love interest, but it didn't end up being much of a love story either, which I like personally because there's like no distraction at all. She's like, you're kind of a chump and a loser, and you're never around, so I'm just gonna leave. And he's like, oh, okay,
all right, bye. Bye. That's to me probably like the healthiest breakup story in a movie that I've ever seen. So like she's just like, no, you're not cutting it, and I found another guy, and he's like, oh, well, okay, on with our lives.
Got a cat.
Yeah. So jumping to the last fight scene, there's a line in the setup for that might be my favorite. It's not really a one-liner exactly, but it might be my favorite insult when James Coburn looks at the other guy and says, No matter what you do, you'll still smell like fish.
Isn't that amazing? I
Oh,
love
it was
that line.
so good. I had to rewind it and be like, wait, hold on. Did he just tell this guy he's always going to smell like fish? And like, took a second to put context together, but either way, that is go-to insult from now on.
Oh, I love it. I also
Yeah.
love the thing where like they go to the like little like hillbilly cookout for a bare knuckle fight and get totally screwed out of their money and then go show up at the bar and just like wreck it.
Oh yeah, that's great. And the scenery is a big part of all those fight scenes to me. I thought it was really
Yeah.
great. And every single one of the things that I couldn't get out of my head is every time they're like, okay, now we're fighting at the docks. Now we're fighting in a sketchy cage. Now we're fighting in an oyster warehouse. Every time I was like, yeah, no, this is a place where I've wanted to see Brad Pickett fight.
Definitely. No, I mean it's great for like it did a great job, not only because New Orleans is just a cool city to film in, but of with a very minimal budget and minimal respect to like big location shooting, picking great sets that you can work on for like a 1930s atmosphere that would be relatively unchanged and look just as cool.
Yeah, the settings they chose on were just really great fits for it. It was, even when there wasn't like a whole lot of action, there was always still something really engaging on the screen.
Yeah, I love the look and feel of that movie. It just has a very like it's a very genuine sort of toned down action movie that's just really only about a series of boxing matches and like that's it. It's not about any there's
Yeah.
no like major failing or major problem or anything like that. It's just about like let's try to set up these series of bare knuckle boxing fights and make some money.
Yeah, and it doesn't look for a lesson. It's very much like that early Simpsons line. Maybe it's just a bunch of stuff that happened.
It is, but I have a love for that in action movies of not like filling you with like this big love story that you don't care about, where it's just like, oh, let's just shove some melodrama in here to get you more hooked into our action scenes, or no scrappy kid or comic
Yeah,
relief or anything like
totally.
that.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that. It's a very no frills movie and benefits 100% from it.
All right, so we are going to be back.
Oh wait, hold up! Before we sign off, I have two more things to say about this movie.
Okay, last thoughts.
One thing is, you make fun of names in my movies, so I got to call out that the characters in this movie are named Speed, Street, Cesare, Hammerman, and then I just stopped adding stuff because I think I've made my point.
Hey, you know what? That's just your lack of respect for quality art. I'm not going to make excuses. If you don't recognize fine art when you see it, I'm not going to try and fight you,
All right. And then very last closing thought was, I thought that I had the dumbest thought at the end of this movie when, the James Coburn and the other guy, they have money and they're figuring out what they're going to do. And they say, yeah, time to head down to Miami. And I'm like, okay, this motherfucker is going to hire Kimbo Slice. That is our sequel.
Oh, God. You're pulling me back in, Troy. You're pulling me back in. I'm clawing my way out. This is my way out, and you're pulling me back in.
Well, okay, I'm going with the guy who fought on CBS this time, at least.
This is the crab bucket metaphor all over again. How like all the crabs could get out of the bucket really easily if they were able to just climb out. But the moment one crab starts climbing out, the others grab onto it and they pull it back and try to use it to climb out, and they all just end up pulling each other back into the crab bucket.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I mean, that's what happens when you give me a movie where people punch each other a bunch. And he says that he's going to Miami. Like, so perfect.
It may be. It is like the preeminent cage fighting movie, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So on that note, we'll be back next week for our next full episode, which is going to be the burdens of prophecy, if I'm remembering correctly. This is a theme.
Yeah, and we can go into our thoughts on that once we start talking about that on that show.
All right. So until then, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. You can find Troy on Twitter at PDLMMA, and we will be back for our next episode in just a few days.